First of all, I want to say thank you for the incredible album that was released not so long ago. And my first question would be was the process of recording somehow different from the recording of previous albums?
So I always did the songwriting and the producing
Mm-hmm.
for the band, but this time, because I had a really strong vision for this album after the last one, um, I even did all the recording in my studio and the mixing of the album myself. So from from the very first beginning of writing those songs
Mm-hmm.
to recording them, producing them, and mixing it, it was all done by me.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the first time where I was handling just like everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and what song was the first one that was recorded?
I I know the first three because when I went into my studio with our drummer, we chose three songs for the first session, and it was Baila, Olga von der Volga, and Ruski Style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Is it just me, or is this album a little bit heavier than the previous ones?
It is definitely because that's what I had in mind after the last one when we were collaborating with some German major label and they wanted to make our sound a little more accessible, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And and we thought like our singer Georgie and me, we thought, yeah, that's a cool idea, let's try it. But like when we were in the process of it, I really felt this is not right for the band. So even before we finished the record, I had a like an idea where to go next with the next album. So I think it was like 3 or 4 months after the release of the last album when I had the first ideas for the new one, for the current one, Turbopolka Party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So this album seems to have some awesome collaborations, and can you please tell me how did you come up with working with all those wonderful people?
So there's like three guests on the album. Um, and there's of course Micha Rein from In Extremo.
Mm-hmm.
She's like a great German medieval meets metal band, and they've been around for I think 25 years or something. And we've been friends for years now, and those guys are just so cool, and they invited us to play shows with them. And on their last album, we did a feature on their album, on the song Gogia, where our singer Georgie he was singing, and I played some. I don't even know anymore which string instrument it was. Some I think it was some Greek bouzouki stuff that I played
Uh-huh.
there. So and for this album of ours, we thought it would be cool to have Micha sing with us. And then there was Benji Webber from Skindred, which is a whole different story because I have never met Benji in person, but I've been a fan since I was a teenager of him, and I heard him for the first time. I think it was in '98 when Soulfly's first record came out, and he was featured on it, and I think I was like 15 years old or something, and I heard it, and I said, "What's that voice? You know, he can rap, he can scream, he can sing. He's just a real great vocalist." And it was back in the day before internet and stuff like that, and before YouTube. So I took out the booklet of the CD and I checked for his name. So it was Benji Webber, and I checked for his band, and he had that band called Dub War. It was like a reggae rock band, and they disbanded, I think, at the end of the '90s, and then he went on to form Skindred, which I also love. So basically, I love everything that guy ever did. So I'm a big fan,
Mm-hmm.
and I really wanted him on the album because I had written the song, and I think it was really a perfect fit to have him on the song. And then because they were on the same label, as Russkaja for a long time. I think they now changed to another label. I just tried to make contact and get through to Benji, and I sent him the song, and we asked him if he would join us, and he said yes, and I'm really happy to have him on the song because his voice is just incredible.
Yeah, so it was something like dream come true for you, as far as I know.
Yeah, definitely, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a German band called Le Fly, which is not so big, not that famous, but those guys are really nice, and we played shows together, and we did another song on their album also, and they have like a lot of German rap in their songs, which I also like. So
Mm-hmm.
I had that song Señales, and I thought it would be cool to have them on it, and they liked it, so it was all cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned playing some folk instruments, and as a generally folk band, so what was the most memorable instrument that you've played throughout your career?
You mean not only with Russkaja? You mean the whole
Well, probably, yeah.
my whole life? Well, there is an Austrian instrument that's only used for playing typical Austrian music from Vienna
Mm-hmm.
mainly. The city Vienna,
Of course.
and they have a certain style that's only in that city, and it's called Wiener Lied, like
Mm-hmm.
Viennese song, and they use a very weird guitar. It has like two necks,
Uh-huh.
and it has extra bass strings, but those bass strings are like they are tuned chromatically. So
Mm.
so if you happen to pick the wrong string, it's just one half note different from the right one, which is like a catastrophe. And I used to play in an orchestra in a theater, and
Mm.
I had to play those songs, and it was really weird to play that instrument. So
Mm-hmm.
it's called contra guitar, like contra guitar, something like that.
I will try to remember and check it out. I don't think I've ever heard about it, but that's interesting. That's really interesting. So let's go back to speaking about the album and its track list. And the first song I would like to discuss is song No Borders. And of course, the topic of peace around the globe is not new for you. I mean, it's definitely heard in song, for example, like El Pueblo Unido. If it's the proper title, I'm very
Yeah,
bad
yeah,
at Spanish. Yeah, it was Spanish, right?
perfect, perfect.
Yeah, okay. Except for the fact that now this topic is even more relevant. So, can you please tell a little bit about the process of writing this song in particular? How was it created?
So when we came back from our very first US tour, which was, I think it was like exactly 1 year ago now. I think we went there in end of February last year, and that was exactly when the war started here. And when we came back from the tour, I came to realize that this war wasn't gonna stop like in a few months or something. And what I was thinking in my head was, I just can't believe that it's still possible in the year 2022 in Europe to start a war just like that. I thought we have left that stuff behind us. Like, okay, like mankind, especially in Europe, we evolved or some kind of thing like that. But then it came to my mind that it's just the same shit all over again. Like, wars still happen these days, and it's shit because wars are always shit. Doesn't matter if it's the Vietnam War, like when Hendrix played his songs against the war that the US did in Vietnam, or the Balkan War in the 90s or stuff like that. Wars are always total bullshit. You you
Mm-hmm.
you cannot, like the people like us, we have no profit from war. we just die and we lose our relatives and our friends, you know.
Uh-huh.
The only guys that profit from shit war is like the people up up on the ladder, you know, like politicians and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and companies involved in producing weapons and stuff like that. I don't care about that. It's all bullshit to me, you know. So those lyrics of No Borders, they start with lines like it's the 21st century, nothing has changed, stuff like that,
Mhm.
because that's what I was thinking, you know. And I was in the tour bus, and the words came to my mind, and when I got to the backstage area, I just grabbed one of my guitars and I sat down and I wrote the chords to the lyrics I had in the I had in the bus.
Continuing the topic of No Borders song, and generally the whole mission of the band. It has always been like humor, satire, and now in the current situation, I really immediately got the major message that was depicted in the song No Borders. Like, I mean, peace. Everyone wants peace. That's the major point. But still, my question for you is, don't you think that the greatest problem of the band was that people didn't want to hear this mission of yours in contemporary situation, and that's what led to necessity to disband the band in the end?
Well, I'm not sure what people really want to hear or want us to say, or maybe they just don't understand, because one of the biggest problems, like in the last 4 weeks, to me as the writer of those songs, was that it was labeled as Russian propaganda, and
Mm-hmm.
it was labeled as like Russia terrorist state hashtag stuff. And I think I think it takes a lot of fantasy to make a song like No Borders a pro-Russian, a pro-war song. Well, that takes some fantasy, but the problem was also that people in Germany, they just picked out a few sentences, a few words of the lyrics. They picked out like no nations, no fighting from the chorus, and then they said, "Well, your singer Georgie, he was born in Russia, and he's singing no nations, no fighting. He wants to say Ukraine shouldn't be a nation." You know, it's stuff like that. And to me, it was like, okay, I, I
Oh.
wrote I wrote those lyrics. There's no way in my mind you can just turn it around like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that these days in social media, everything gets a mass movement very easily. And once people start to place those wrong lyrics there, all the others, they just say, "Oh, that's some Russian music. Stop it." And then you got a movement, yeah. So those people were writing to the clubs that we wanted to play on tour,
Mm-hmm.
and they wrote the clubs, why do you let those guys play in times like these? So we had a problem there. And like a few weeks ago, I said to my friends in the band, I don't think I can go on stage and have fun playing those songs that I wrote myself, but playing them, having fun when I know there's maybe people outside of the club protesting against our music or something like that. The problem is, to me, it was never meant that way. This music always was meant to be fun. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, it's very satirical of the Soviet stuff, because all that stuff was hilarious until like exactly 1 year ago. It was just fun for like 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was all fun. But now, oh no, please don't make fun anymore. It's just, and I understand it's just tragic. So how can you have fun on stage playing those songs? I mean, we have this single called Shapka, and I love that song, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. And I'm happy that my Fred Durst sound-alike voice is finally on a record. Yeah,
Oh, so it was your voice.
yeah,
uh,
that's me.
yeah, I actually wanted to speak about this song too. I mean, I always admired your ability to pay attention to like things or items no one would pay attention to. I mean, like it was the song Barada, I remember. Now it's Shapka. How do you find inspiration? I mean, many people write things about items. I mean, like dresses, for example. Guys like to sing about this item of female wardrobe, but I mean, writing a song about beard or about hat is that's fun. I mean, how do you come up with such ideas?
I think it's because we're fun guys, you
Well,
know.
generally,
It's
yeah.
always there's just you have funny ideas, just
Hmm.
talking and having fun. Like even when we're on the road, when we were on the road, it's in the past now. We have lots of fun, and I remember just being in the studio and working on some songs with our singer Georgie one day, and we had like two or three shapkas in our rehearsal space. And in winter when it's cold, I used to wear them on stage and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So somehow the hat was always there, you
Uh,
know. And we always thought, yeah, maybe one day we'll write a song about that because it's just fun. Yeah. And
hmm.
of course, this is another example of stuff that was just great fun until 1 year ago, and now I released a great song as a single, and people were only seeing like Russian propaganda in there, which is a shame, but I can't stop it anymore. So
Yes. I mean, this whole madness is seriously unstoppable. You know, I um, have a degree in arts and cultural studies, and I'm actually art historian. And it, like, I mean, it's not even about your band, but in general, when people say like Tchaikovsky is Kremlin propaganda too, I mean, if the madness is that kind of level now. So I don't know. Seriously, nothing can be done in this situation, unfortunately.
it's
Uh,
it's cancel culture that
that's
is
exactly
happening
what I
now.
wanted to talk about you. That was my next question in the list. So, what is your what is your attitude to cancel culture? So, is it like necessary evil or is it just evil, in your opinion?
Well, it's hard to tell, because of course I think it's just madness, and you can't just erase all that kind of stuff. But on
Mm-hmm.
the other hand, I know, or let me put it that way, I understand what people try to do. Yeah, because some stuff would affect people. Like there was a girl in Germany, and I don't know her personally, but she was killing everything we were doing in the last 2 months in her stories and in her posts on Instagram. And I think she has some Ukrainian heritage or something,
Of
and
course.
she would be really affected by all the stuff we did. She even said you can't use our band's logo in times like these because it's based around the star.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but then go ahead and erase all stars on Earth. So I think
Well,
it can be too much somewhere, but on the other hand, I think I can understand what's the problem for those people. But you can't cancel Tchaikovsky. And even the US, for example, they fought many wars, and many of those wars were total bullshit, as all wars are bullshit.
mm-hmm.
And we still listen to Metallica, don't we?
Of course. Yeah, that's a disaster totally. Coming back to the track list of the album, so there is a song called Pashli, which contains lines let's go. The future looks bright ahead. And in current circumstances, this sounds a little bit bitter, even though these lines are very uplifting. So tell me, please, when this song was in the process of creation, so did you have it in mind that actually maybe there is no future for the band anymore, or was it just an attempt to like leave it on the bright note or something?
You know, Russkaja's music was always very uplifting and energetic, and the first few songs for that album I wrote in 2019,
Mm.
even before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I think the only two songs that I wrote after the war started were No Borders. I think Señales, the lyrics,
Mm-hmm.
and Baila was really old, as I told you in the beginning. But the lyrics I wrote like at the very end because I had some different lyrics, and then I wrote new one. I think it was like in summer, last summer, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But Bashli is a song that I wrote like 2 years ago. And if there wouldn't have been that war going on, it would be just one of the greatest, most typical heavy Russkaya songs ever made.
Mm-hmm.
But it was written before the war. So when the war started, everything changed.
Mm-hmm.
And people will ask, how can you do that?
Mm-hmm. But still, really demanded a huge bravery. I mean, now I'm talking to you and I understand that it really demanded a huge bravery to release this album now. And So did you already know that you're about to give up the band when you announced the release of the album?
Actually not. We actually we really finally decided on disbanding last week.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And before that, like the whole year up to the decision, we were talking about that stuff all the time because, as you know, our singer Georgie, he was born in Moscow, and our bass player Dimitri, he was born in Ukraine. So it was always a big topic from day one of this war. Like Georgie, he had like really big problems because he felt the shame even of being born in Russia. But still, he had to go out there and sing those songs and sing those lyrics that are just, they don't feel appropriate anymore, as we said.
Mm-hmm.
And he tried his best, and we all tried his best. But we like every time we met for some session or some recording, I think we spent the first hour talking about that stuff, thinking about how it would affect us, or maybe we can go through it somehow, and people will understand that we're not Russian propaganda. But in the end, it just got too big, so we decided, like last week, we said, okay, we we all can't feel it anymore. So
Mm-hmm. And why did you decide just to give up, not to put the band on pause, for example? Do you feel like you really just never want to do it anymore, or why?
well, when we were discussing it, to us the problem is that um, that concept on a Soviet um, on satirical Soviet symbols and sayings and language and stuff like that, even if the war would end like tomorrow or something, it wouldn't be fun anymore. Still,
Mm-hmm.
you still can't sing those songs. They're just not fun. All those lyrics are not fun anymore, even if the war ends. So we were thinking it would, even if the war ends tomorrow, it would take like 5 to 10 or even more years to make this fun again. Maybe never, maybe in
Mm-hmm.
40, 50 years. Like, of course, you wouldn't have had a band like ours in, let's say, 1952 or something. You know, when it's so fresh. So we said we don't see the future here. So just just end the band, which is really tragic for us, you know.
Of course. Mm-hmm. And what's the atmosphere within the band right now? How do you cope with this whole thing? Because it really just triggered me when you wrote about like abandoning your own baby that you've been caring about for 18 years or something. So, how do you feel right now?
Well, right now I'm a little bit better,
That's
but
good.
last week the whole band we did like a very small release party where we played a few songs, like 1 hour or something,
Mm-hmm.
and that day was just very emotional and sad because even when I met Dimitri, our bass player, and we hugged like we always did when we met, we both we had tears in our eyes because we knew it's over now after all those years sharing the stage and having so many incredible experiences. Like you go to you go through so many highs and so many lows together all those years. You play shows where you don't have a hotel, like, and like after the show it's 3 in the morning and somebody tells you where you have no place to stay, stuff like that, you know. And all that shitty stuff and all that high stuff and all those great shows you do, it makes you so close together
Mm-hmm.
after like 18 years or something. And then you know it will stop. It will now all stop and be history. And that's really tragic, you know.
Uh, oh well. I
What a
really
fun interview.
no. I knew that it would be like this. Seriously, but still, yeah. Um, I really want to wish you all the best in your future, whatever you plan to do. By the way, what are you planning to do? So, do you have any like further ideas of how to apply your creativity?
um, since I'm a songwriter and I'm a producer and I have my own studio where I did all the Russkaja stuff. Um, I'm always making music, and if I'm not doing Russkaja, I will do it somewhere else
Mm-hmm.
because I'm also producing like other bands for a few years now. And I think, I mean, right now it feels kind of empty not having your own band after all those years, which is like your second family or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm feeling kind of empty, but I still have work to do. You know, I do productions, and people are calling me, "Yo, man, I heard you're free now. Can you play a few shows on guitar with my band and stuff like that?" So people know me here, and they will ask me stuff. So I will not get bored, but of course I'm also thinking about how I can set up like a new main band or something like that. Maybe I don't know what the future will bring, because writing songs for Ruskaya for me was something that was naturally after all those years. So I exactly knew how to write lyrics for Georgie or the drums for a drummer and stuff like that, and all those melodies that I wrote. So it was naturally. So setting up a new band now for me will take some time to think
Mm-hmm.
in which direction I want to go. So I will not get bored, but making up like my own new band will take some time. Let's see what the future brings.
Yes, and yeah, the future looks bright ahead. I remember. Yes.
I hope it's true.